Welcome to the deep dive. You've brought some really fascinating sources today. Looks like excerpts, reflections, all centered on the Kaivalya Upanishad.
That's right. Ancient wisdom, but with some pretty bold claims about, well, about you, about what's possible right now.
Right. So we're not just looking at history here. Our mission then is to untack this, see what it says about freedom, our real nature.
Exactly. Think of it as a shortcut, maybe? A guided tour through some really profound spiritual ideas that people have grappled with for millennia.
Okay, let's dive in. Straight away, the sources mention Brahma Vidya.
Okay.
What is that exactly?
Brahma Vidya is presented as, well, the highest knowledge, the understanding that's said to grant liberation from samsara.
Samsara, that cycle of feeling stuck, limited, wanting.
Precisely, that loop. And it's contrasted with aparvidya,
Which is
all our other knowledge, basically.
Mm.
Secular stuff, science, arts, skills, even rituals.
So worldly knowledge is useful, obviously. Essential, even.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Valid in its own sphere. Sources are clear on that.
But it's not the key to this ultimate freedom we're talking about.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
For that kind of fundamental liberation from limitation itself, Brahma Vidya is presented as the key.
And sometimes it's called secret or hidden, niguham. That word secret, it can sound a bit, well, exclusive.
It can, yeah. Like it's being kept from people.
Right. Maybe even suspicious.
But the sources clarify this beautifully, I think. It's not a secret in that sense, like a club you need entry to.
Okay.
It's called secret because the subject matter, your own true self, is deeply hidden, subtle, not obvious to our usual way of seeing things, our senses, our mind.
So hidden from us by its very nature, not hidden by someone else?
Exactly. It's guarded, yes. But the sources say it's guarded by the pure in heart, those who are internally ready, receptive. It needs inner preparation, purification.
That makes more sense. Not withheld, just subtle, requiring readiness. And you mentioned preparation. The sources talk about threefold equipment, what's in the toolkit.
Right. Essential gear for the journey. First up is Shraddha.
Often translated as faith.
Yes, but it's richer than just belief. It's not blind belief at all. It's more like a positive receptivity, a deep trust that the teacher and the scriptures are a valid way to know this particular thing.
So an open mind, trusting the process, willing to see if it checks out.
Pretty much. It's a
Yeah.
conviction, sure, but when you arrive at through understanding and when you can, verify in your own experience as you go.
Okay, so receptivity, Shorta. What's next?
That leads to bhakti,
Hmm.
commitment, devotion.
Devotion not just to a deity, but to the process itself.
Exactly. The willingness to really cooperate, to pursue the knowledge, honestly, all the way. Sincere dedication.
Got it. Receptivity, commitment. What's the third piece?
Dhyana yoga, focused contemplation.
The ability to concentrate.
Yes, to gather your mind, hold your attention single-pointedly on what's being taught. Super important for this subtle stuff.
Makes sense. Receptive attitude, sincere commitment, mental focus. The sources also bring up the spirit of renunciation, sanyatala. Where does that fit? Do you have to, give everything up, become a monk?
Yeah, that's a key question. The sources really emphasize it's primarily about preparing the mind.
How so?
The core attitude is something like, my ultimate want is this truth alone, or God alone. It means letting go gradually of actions and desires that are purely ego-driven.
Why? Because they distract you.
Exactly. They preoccupy the mind, clutter it up. When the mind's less caught up in external wants and anxieties, it's available for the deep meditation needed here.
Okay. So it's more about an internal shift, a reprioritization, less about literally walking away from the world for everyone.
Precisely. I mean, external renunciation is a valid path, a traditional ashrama. But for gaining this knowledge through meditation, it's the spirit that's crucial, freeing up mental energy.
Got it. Freeing the mind for the knowledge. Okay, so we have the inner equipment, the prepared mind. What are the actual methods, the means of knowledge used?
The sources lay out three main ones, Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana.
Okay, let's break those down. Shravana.
Shravana is listening. But, not just casual hearing, it's deep, focused listening as the teacher systematically unfolds the scriptures.
Unfolds them about what?
About you. That's the key point they stress. The subject matter is ultimately your own self. Like one source says, etme, the self must be listened about.
Whoa. Listening deeply to teachings about me. That feels intense. Like looking in a mirror you didn't know was there.
It is intense
How?
and vital. Then comes manana,
Which it says?
reflection. Engaging your own intellect, thinking it through, resolving doubts, asking questions, making sure your understanding aligns with the logic of the teachings. It's active.
So you listen deeply, then you really chew on it intellectually. Makes sense. What's the third step?
Nididhyasana. This is deep meditation or contemplation.
How's that different from manana, the reflection part?
If Ravana is planting the seed and Manana is clarifying what the seed is, Nididhyasana is like preparing the soil and letting it take root. Its goal is to overcome habitual, deep-seated errors.
Yar's like,
Those ingrained false ideas about who you are. The ones that contradict the truth you're hearing and reflecting on, even if you grasp it intellectually. Habits of thinking, I am limited, I am this body, etc.
so listen, reflect, then contemplate deeply to internalize it, to overwrite the old programming.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. It's a whole process. And the sources also mention supporting practices, like reciting hymns. The Shadarudriyam, or Rudram, is specifically mentioned.
Chanting. How does that fit with knowledge? Seems more devotional.
It does, but the explanation is fascinating. Practices like chanting Rudram are seen as powerful ways to purify the mind
Purify how?
by helping to remove obstacles. Things like strong likes and dislikes, emotional baggage, mental turbulence, the residue of past negative actions, stuff that makes the mind unsteady.
So it clears the static, makes the mind more receptive and focused for the main work of Sravana Manana Nididhyasana.
Exactly. Prepares the ground, clears the clutter so the knowledge can actually land and stick.
Okay, that connects. All right, we've got the gear, the tools, the purified mind. Let's get to the core of it, the deep dive into reality itself. This is where it gets, well, really interesting and maybe challenging.
Definitely. The sources jump right into the core problem. That feeling we all know. Limitation, wanting, lack. That sense of not enoughness, sorrow. It feels so real.
It feels like the baseline sometimes, doesn't it?
It absolutely can. And then Vedanta, through these sources, drops this radical, almost jarring message
Which is?
that you are all right as you are, that you are limitless, you are beautiful. And crucially, this isn't meant as like feel-good flattery.
Not a pep talk.
No. It's presented as a fundamental truth about your actual nature, a truth that needs to be understood.
Hey, how can that be true? When I look around, when I look at myself, honestly, I see limitation. I see flaws. I feel lack. That feels way more real than limitless.
And that is the central paradox this Upanishad tackles head-on. It leads directly to the Mahavakya, the great statement.
the core teaching.
Yes. Here, it's Tad Brahma Advayam Asmiyaham.
Meaning.
I am that non-dual Brahman. Or the famous one from other texts, Tatvamasi, that thou art. It's asserting a direct identity. The I, at your core, is the universal, limitless reality. Brahman.
Wow. Okay. I am Brahman. But hang on. If only this one non-dual Brahman exists, what about everything else? The world, me feeling limited right now, how can they exist if only Brahman exists?
That's the crux of non-duality, Advaita. The fundamental idea is Brahman alone is ultimately real. Anything else that appears to exist.
Like the world, my body, and my thoughts.
Yes, all that is an appearance, and that appearance has a specific term, mithya.
Mithya. Is that just illusion, like a magic trick? Fake?
It's subtle. The sources describe mithya carefully. It's called inexplicable. You can't ultimately categorize it as purely existing or purely not existing. But the key feature is its dependency.
Dependent on what?
On Brahman. Its apparent reality is borrowed. The analogies are key here. Cloth depends on cotton, the pot on clay, the wave on water.
Ah, like the classic rope snake analogy you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. You see a snake in the dim light, you react, feel fear.
Yeah.
But there's only a rope. The snake appearance is entirely dependent on the rope. It has no reality of its own apart from the rope.
So the world, my sense of being a separate person, it's not nothing, but it's like the snake. An appearance projected onto the underlying reality of Brahman. Dependent, not independently real.
That's the idea. It's not the ultimate reality, but it's the appearance on that reality. And Brahman is described as the cause of this appearance, this universe.
The cause, like the creator.
Both the material cause, the stuff everything is made of, and the efficient cause, the intelligence, the designer behind it. But there's a very important distinction in how it's the material cause. It's the Vivarta material cause.
Vivarta, what does that mean? Different from, say, clay becoming a pot.
Exactly. Clay becoming a pot is parinama, the cause. Clay actually transforms, changes its form into the effect pot.
Okay.
But Brahman, as the Vivarta cause, means the world appears on Brahman, but Brahman itself remains utterly unchanged. It doesn't transform into the world.
Like the rope doesn't become the snake. The snake is just seen on the rope, which stays a rope.
Precisely. The appearance happens without changing the underlying reality. Brahman remains perfectly itself, untouched.
That's a huge distinction.
Yeah.
So this unchanging Brahman, the self, What is it like? How do they describe it? If it's beyond attributes.
They use descriptions that push the limits of language, often paradoxical. It's limitless, bume, beyond space, time, qualities. Smaller than the smallest, vaster than the vastest.
Smaller and vaster. How?
It points to its nature as being non-dimensional, not bound by spatial concepts. It has no hands or legs, yet has incomprehensible power. Sees without eyes, hears without ears. It knows everything because it is the consciousness underlying all knowing, yet nothing can know as an object.
Because it's the ultimate subject, the knower.
Yes, it's pure consciousness sit, and its sativ is ever self-effulgent. It's the light that illumines everything else but needs no other light to illumine itself.
Wow. Okay, smaller than the smallest, vaster than the vastest. That definitely stretches the mind. It's the knower, never the known object. Now, the sources also talk about the 3 states of consciousness: waking, dream, deep sleep. We all experience these. How does this self, this Brahman, relate to them?
This is super practical because we usually identify ourselves with our experience in these states, right?
Yeah, I'm the person who's awake or dreaming or asleep.
So in the waking state, the you, the jiva, the individual self, identifies with the physical body and senses interacting with the world out there.
Standard reality.
Then in the dream state, the you, the jiva, identifies with the mind. And look, it creates a whole world internally from impressions, shows the mind's power.
Right. Dreams can feel totally real.
And then deep sleep, you, the jiva, get profound rest. Consciousness is still there, obviously you wake up, but it's associated with, well, the sources call it pure ignorance, ajna, like a blanket of ignorance.
Ignorance. But deep sleep feels good, restful, blissful even.
Exactly. You experience ananda, bliss, but you're unaware of it while you're in it, precisely because of that veil or blanket of ignorance covering the discerning mind.
Okay, waking, dream, deep sleep, different identifications. But you're saying the real you, the self, is something else.
Yes. The sources emphasize the witnessing self, the samasta sakshem. This is the unchanging awareness, the constant substratum that's present through all 3 states.
The witness of waking, dream, and deep sleep.
Exactly. It's untouched by the merry sport, the drama of these states coming and going. It's a consistent I am that continues underneath it all.
They also mention the triad or tripue, subject-object experience.
Right. Any experience has these 3. The experiencer, subject, the experience object, and the experiencing itself. I see the tree, I feel happiness.
Okay.
The point is the self-pure consciousness is distinct from all 3 parts of that triad. It's not the eye who sees, nor the tree, nor the act of seeing. It's the fundamental awareness that makes the whole experience possible. The light illumining the whole show.
Okay, so let's circle back to the big question. If my true nature is this limitless witnessing consciousness, distinct from all this changing stuff, why on earth do I feel so limited, so bound, so often unhappy? Why do I feel like the person in the waking state identified with this body lacking things?
Oh, yes. The million-dollar question. The answer, according to the sources, lies in Maya, the power of appearance. Ajnana, ignorance, the simple lack of knowing your true nature. Mithya, the false notions you build based on appearances. And crucially, the Depnya, identification.
Identification, taking myself to be something I'm not.
Exactly. You mistakenly identify this limitless self with the limited body-mind complex, which is itself part of the mithya, the appearance. You conclude who you are based on your temporary experiences, based on feedback within the dream or waking states, not based on your fundamental reality as the witness.
Identifying with the changing body, the changing thoughts, the changing feelings.
Right. Taking the appearance to be the reality of you. It's like that brilliant analogy they use, the lion cub raised by sheep.
Ah, yes. The cub is a lion, fundamentally. But growing up only seeing sheep, hearing sheep.
It concludes, I am a sheep. It lives a limited sheep life, completely unaware of its true lion nature, its power, its freedom. That's us, identifying with the sheep of the body-mind.
That's a powerful analogy. So, how do we know this self, then, if it's not an object for the senses, not fully graspable by the mind because it's the consciousness behind the mind? How is it known?
You can't know it like an object, that's true. It's the eternal subject. Sources say it's revealed by the Upanishads, by the pointers from the teacher. But here's the mind flip. It's not actually unknown.
It's not.
No, you already are it. Your existence isn't unknown. Your awareness isn't unknown. The sources use these 3 indicators. Asmi bhami priyam.
Meaning?
I am asmi existence. I shine bhami, consciousness awareness. I am dear priyam, inherent completeness, fullness, self-love.
So my basic sense of existing, being aware, and that innate pull towards well-being or happiness, that is the self.
That's the ever-present reality. The knowledge isn't about gaining something new you don't have. It's about recognizing what is already always fully present, like the lamp in the theater analogy.
Remind me.
The lamp just shines. It illumines the actors when they're there, the props, the audience, but it also illumines the empty stage when everyone's gone. Its nature is just to illumine.
So consciousness just is. It illumines experiences when they happen, and it illumines the absence of experience, like in deep sleep, when they don't.
Precisely. You're always existing, always conscious, and because your nature is fullness, you are inherently dear.
Yeah.
The ultimate object of your own love is this self.
Wow. That really does flip the script. It's recognition, not achievement. Which leads us to the goal. Liberation. Kaivalya. What does this knowledge actually do for you?
It brings liberation. But again, it's not about getting something new. Remember the story of the 10th man?
Vaguely. 10 people cross a river, count themselves, only find 9. Panic until someone points out the counter forgot to count himself.
Exactly. He was the 10th man all along. He wasn't missing. He just had a wrong notion. Liberation is like that. It's realizing you are never truly bound. It's freedom from the notion of bondage.
The feeling of being bound, limited, suffering, that's the mistaken notion, the snake on the rope.
That's it. That suffering, sorrow, feeling stuck. It's seen as the direct product of ignorance of ayana and the mithya, the false ideas that stem from it.
So knowing the truth automatically removes the suffering based on the falsehood.
Just like knowing the rope instantly dissolves the fear of the snake fear vanishes because the snake notion vanishes. The sources say all evil is the product of ignorance. It's a cognitive error, fundamentally not an inherent flaw in reality or in you.
What's the state like, then? For someone who has truly recognized this, what does it look like, feel like?
The description is profound. Sarva bhutastam atmanam, sarva bhutani chatmani.
Which means?
Seeing your own self abiding in all beings and seeing all beings abiding in yourself. It's the lived experience of non-duality. Sampassana Brahma Paramam, seeing Brahman everywhere.
Seeing the oneness behind all the apparent differences.
Yes. Not just intellectually getting it, but experiencing that unity, that profound connection.
Seems like the end of fundamental separation.
It is. Now, the texts mention 2 kinds of liberation. Jivanmukti, liberated while living.
Freedom here and now.
Exactly. And Videhamukti, liberation after the body drops. But the real emphasis, the prize in Vedanta and these sources, is Jivanmukti, being free while alive.
Free from the idea of bondage right now. And finally, the sources really hammer home how you get there.
They do. Zero ambiguity. This supreme state, this Brahman, this Kaivalya, it's attained nanyena hetuna.
Meaning?
And not by any other means. Knowledge, Brahma Vidya,
So,
the recognition of your true self. That alone is presented as the direct path. Not rituals by themselves, not actions by themselves, not blind belief, but clear, firm knowledge.
wow. What an incredible journey through this wisdom. From needing the right gear and tools, understanding the means, to grasping this, well, frankly, mind-blowing idea of our true nature as limitless, non-dual consciousness.
It definitely challenges our usual assumptions.
And that powerful, perhaps even confronting message. Recognition through knowledge is the only key. It's a radical shift in perspective.
Absolutely. It turns everything upside down, or maybe right side up.
And that leaves us with a final, maybe provocative thought for you, the listener, to chew on. If your deepest nature, your fundamental reality, truly is limitless, complete, untouched by suffering, as this Upanishad insists, then how much of the struggle, the feeling of lack, the unhappiness you experience day to day, how much of that could just be the result of a deeply ingrained, stubbornly held, mistaken notion about who you really are?
It invites you to consider. Maybe the freedom you're searching for isn't something to build or achieve, but something already here, just waiting to be recognized.
Something to really reflect on. This isn't just abstract philosophy, it's a potential revolution in how you see yourself and your life. We hope this deep dive into the Kaivalya Upanishad has given you some powerful insights to explore further.